Hey guys, Ike here from Mike'sOutdoors.com. Here today to show you how to use a climbing tree stand. Now when it comes to climbers, there's going to be a bunch of different ones. This is just the basics on how to use one. Each one of them is going to be unique, and each one's going to be a little bit different. So first off, I'm going to show you the things that I take with me every time I take my climber out. These are things I usually carry with me anyway, but they're things you're going to want to carry and keep in mind to have with you when you use your climber. First thing is a limb saw. We're going to climb this tree right here, which doesn't have very many limbs on it, but if you get in a situation where you're going to have to cut some limbs, you need a limb saw with you or you can't use your climber. The second thing I take with me is a headlamp. And the reason I use a headlamp is because both my hands are going to be on the climber. So I take a headlamp with me so I can put it on my head and have my hands free. Now, the other thing I have attached to my climber at all times is a pull-up rope. Because you get out there and you don't have a pull-up rope when you got a climber, it can really be a pain in the butt trying to get your gear up in the tree. So, those are three things that I take with me every time I use a climber. So we're going to take this thing apart here and hook it up on a tree and show you how to use it. Now, one of the things we're going to talk about is tree selection. You want a tree with fairly soft bark because you really want this tree stand to be able to bite into it. So check out the trees in your area and find something with really soft bark. We have mostly oaks around here, and some of them are really good and some of them are really bad. Some of them make it really tough to climb, and some of them this tree stand really bites in really well. This one here is just it looks like a big, I don't even know what this is. It looks like a oak or a walnut tree of some kind. I'm not even sure what it is, but it's got good soft bark on it, and we're going to go ahead and climb it. Okay, so there's going to be two parts to your climbing stand. You're going to have a top and a bottom. And again, depending on what model of tree stand you have, they're going to look a little bit different than what I have. I believe this is an Ameristep Hitman or Hitman 2, something like that. But you're going to have a top and a bottom. And I know that seems obvious, but if you're using it for the first time, and depending on the tree stand you got, it may not be that obvious. So we've got our bottom right here. This is usually the larger of the two sections, and it will not have a seat on it. It's just got your platform. This is the top section here. It's a little bit smaller. Mine has a shooting rail on it. Yours may or may not. And it has a seat attached to it. So make sure you put your bottom on the bottom and put your top on the top. So we're going to go ahead and get it on the tree here and then talk a little bit about some of the things to do when you get it on the tree. Okay, so this is your first step in getting your climber on the tree, is actually attaching it to the tree. And we didn't show that because it's going to be different on your tree stand versus mine. The key thing to keep in mind here, and you're going to have to learn this on your own, is to angle your tree stand up. The reason for that is trees are bigger at the base than they are at the top. So as you climb up, the tree's going to narrow down, and these are going to level out. Now the angle that you're going to put them at is going to depend on a couple of things. It's going to depend on the tree, and it's going to depend on the height that you want to get whenever you're climbing. This tree looks like it stays pretty thick all the way up, but I can tell you this one may be a little bit too much of an angle. This one's probably just about right. So the angle is going to make a big difference as you climb. It's important to get it right. On a lot of these tree stands, once you get up there, you cannot change it. I err on the side of angled too much rather than not angled enough, because I'd rather get up there and be a little uncomfortable having it angled up than to have it angled down and be in the habit, or be in the at a downward angle where I might slip and fall out of it. Of course, wear your safety harness whenever you're in this tree stand, or any tree stand, anytime you're off the ground. And this tree stand has something, and if your tree stand does not have these, I would get some of these from Third Hand Archery. You can order some that are independent. This one actually came with them. You got a buckle up here, and you got a strap on your bottom. This is going to do a couple things. As we get higher, we're going to be able to pull this top down and actually buckle it into the tree nice and secure. But what this does when it's in this position and ready to climb is it basically keeps this thing from losing your bottom. As you climb up, you're going to have your feet tucked in here. We're going to show you in just a minute. And if your feet come out and your bottom falls, this is going to keep it from falling all the way to the bottom of the tree. If that happens and you got just your top, you can be in a really bad predicament. I've been in that predicament before, and it really, really sucks having to try to get down with just your top. So I'm actually going to reposition my bottom here because I think it's just at a little bit too much of an angle. I think I need to match it more toward the top, and then we'll show you how to put your feet in here and how to actually climb with this thing. Okay, so we're on a little bit of uneven terrain here, if you can't tell. But what I generally do with my tree stand is drop my bottom down as low as I can, and I take my top and I move it up high enough that I'm not going to bump it, and I lock it in position. Now, the reason I do that is because if I'm climbing up here and I hit this and it falls down, it's just going to make a lot of noise. So I actually just move it up where it's a little bit out of the way, and then I go ahead and just kind of pull down on it and get it held up there as securely as I possibly can. So at that point, I'll actually, especially if I get in a position like I'm in now, I'll actually just use my top section of this climber for leverage and just climb up in the stand. At this point, I'm just going to slide my feet on this particular model right here under the two pieces of metal, and that's going to secure my boots in. Now, I'm going to do something a little bit different than what the manufacturer here does, because I want the back of my feet to actually secure and keep from coming out. So what I do is I take a good bungee cord and I wrap it right around there and take it behind my boots and all the way over to the other side and hook it up so that my boots cannot come back. At least in theory, that they shouldn't come back, and I should get a little bit of resistance to them. Now, your tree stand may have something like this. Some of the other tree stands that I had actually had those in position, or they had straps that you could strap up behind your boot. Some of them I've had straps here that you put over the toe of your boot, but that's the basic position that your feet are going to be in when you climb. You're going to have something in the front that's going to go over the top of your boot, and you're going to have something in the back that's going to go around behind your boots to keep them pushed up in there and keep them in position so you don't drop the bottom of your climber. Okay, let me ready to go. Ready? Okay, now this is usually the hardest part, is getting started. It's because your tree stand on the bottom and top are both really tight against the tree at this point. So this is where it gets really tough, and what you're gonna have to do is you're gonna have to baby step it. I'm gonna fix this top real quick. So I'm gonna take it up just a little bit, and what I'm doing is I'm actually tipping the tree stand toward the tree to get a little bit of slack back here in the back side of my tree stand. When I get that slack in there, I'm just raising it up. When I get it raised up, I'm just locking it down into secure position. Now, the bottom, I'm doing the exact same thing. I'm tipping my feet and my knees toward the tree, just like that. And when I get that slack in there, I'm just raising my feet up. Like I said, this is the hardest part. Baby steps. Make sure that bottom is secure before you put all your weight on it. Just like that, I'm just tipping it toward the tree. And once I get it tipped toward the tree and get some slack in there, I'm just raising it up. Same way there. Okay, so that method is your stand and climb method. This tree stand is a sit and climb. So you can see I actually have the bar down here that I can sit on. And with it, instead of having my arms up here on the sides and using my arms, I can actually sit down and use my feet. Exact same method, except this allows you to actually sit down when you're doing it. So, same way, I'm going to tip my toes down and toward the tree just like that. And when I do, there's going to be slack in the cable, and I'm going to bring it right back right up. And you can see As we go up, this has started to level out. Now I'm not going to go any higher just because I don't have a safety harness on. But once you get this to your desired height, you're going to slip your feet out of it. You're going to lower your tree stand top to the height that you want it. And you see how it slipped there? This is a very hard barked tree, and that's why I'm having trouble with my top slipping. So when I get up here and I get to the height that I want, what I'm going to do is I'm going to sit down and I'm going to secure this thing in. And it's a little bit too low, so I'm going to raise it up a little bit. So once I get it to where it's comfortable, I'm going to take these two thills here we talked about earlier, and I'm actually just going to strap those things down nice and tight. Now when I do that, what this is doing is it's pulling this back down and sinking it into the tree. So when I stand up, it won't fall. That's one of your problems that you're going to have with a climber is if you don't secure that like that, when you stand up, your top's going to want to fall and then it's going to make a lot of noise. So, getting down, take these, move them all the way out, and then just re-secure your boots like you had them before. Now, first thing you're going to need to do here, if you're going to use it in an arm climber, is raise this up to the appropriate level. And again, we're tipping our feet toward the tree and letting it go down. This is where these are really, really important because that bottom's actually falling at this point, and it's really easy to get for it to get away from you and for you to actually lose it. Again, the second climb is the easiest way to do it because you can actually just sit down and you can move your tree stand down. You see there how I kind of bounced it around? What I was doing was I was feeling it hitting knots and I was just kind of working it around those knots. Sit down, make sure your top's in good. And see there, I raised it. I went down a little too far. Now my knees are hitting here and I can't raise my bottom up. So if I do that, I'm just securing my bottom again. Raise this up just a hair. And then I can actually get my bottom to go down. Now, I don't want to go down with my bottom any further than my legs fully extended. You may not even want to go that far. Baby steps. Go down and go up nice and slow. Just working that thing around. So it'll slide nice and smooth down the tree. Take it all the way as low as you possibly can. When I get it as low as I possibly can, I'm just going to slip my feet out. And see, there's why you have a safety harness on. I'm going to slip my feet out. I'm going to climb to the other side of my seat. And I'm going to step down. Whew, it's hot out here. So that's the basics of using a climber. Like I said, every climber is going to be a little bit different. Each one is going to have some different nuances to it, but that is the basics of using a climber. On your top and your bottom both, when you actually start climbing, you're going to lift your feet, you're going to drop your toes and bend your knees. And then you're going to lift that bottom up, you're going to drop your heels and straighten your knees out, and that's going to lock your bottom in. Same way with your top. You're going to tilt it toward the tree, you're going to raise it up, you're going to put pressure down on it, and that's going to lock your top in. This is a good, easy way to get on public land. I would use one of these all the time on public land. When we lived in Oklahoma and we had oak trees everywhere and the food source was changing day to day, hour by hour, this was a great way to keep up with the deer there. It's nice, it's quiet, you got to pack it in, you got to pack it out, but it is a nice, quiet way to get in and get out. And with a little bit of time and a little bit of mastery, you can actually get pretty good with one of these things and be up and down a tree in no time. Now, I will caution you, do not practice on telephone poles. They're nice and round and they're nice and straight, but they're also real easy for these things to fall out of. There's videos on YouTube of guys shooting with them off those telephone poles, and one video, a guy is shooting and the bottom falls right out from underneath him. So do not climb with telephone poles, and use your safety harness as you climb up. Just move it up, climb a little bit, move it up. So that's the basics of how to use a climber. Please be sure to like, subscribe, and share this video. Be sure to check out our website, ikesoutdoors.com. And if you want to, you can check us out on Facebook under Ike's Outdoors. Appreciate you guys watching.